Breaking news, Trump Bondi fire back on Epstein client list. Are you still talking about this? Yeah, we are. Because guess what? No one is satisfied with the big reveal.
Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former labor secretary who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency.
It's just the most probable theory. It's Occam's razor. Tim Dillon has a great breakdown of it. If you want to watch our own videos, covered Epstein 2 or 3 times at this point. One going over the full lore, the second going over Kash Patel on Joe Rogan's podcast, and his refusal and deflection. I don't want to get put on a list, but CIA, Mossad, one and the same, don't know.
So could you resolve whether or not he did, and also could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
Yeah, sure. If
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
I don't like that answer. I don't like that answer at all. Biggest Gooner PDF file in the world, running a potential blackmail sex trafficking syndicate, and we're just going to glaze over it, just gloss right on by that one.
Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in
Little sus. Glowing in the dark.
February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's...
The meeting was about Texas, and they asked some dumbass question. That is the issue. I mean, with that context, I can understand it being an inappropriate question. But the ways in which they released the information was inherently inappropriate. And I think a lot of people just want actual answers. We have the most resourceful, powerful intelligence agencies on the planet. And these half-baked, lazy, slop authenticity tours are just not cutting it.
It's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein.
That could be true. I don't doubt it. But it's also very convenient to label something as CP, as like this blanket thing, because then you can't touch it. Obviously. It's just a convenient, no.
Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released...
Bro just had 10,000 videos of CP?
The video showing definitively, the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1990.
Why would they release anything if they can use it as blackmail? Yeah, we saw the 10,000 videos, we said ew, and we deleted it all.
So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
A minute is missing every night when it resets. We're looking for that last minute.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
Brian who? All right, now let's watch Coffee's breakdown of it. He goes into a bit more detail. This is his second channel. Check it out. Subscribe. Like the video. New Epstein footage is a disaster.
Hello, today we're talking about the 1 minute that's missing from Jeffrey Epstein's footage. We're talking about the mystery man that appears after lockdown. Who is it? We'll try to get into it because it's not mentioned in the 2023 OIG report. Now, just yesterday, we already talked about the DOJ FBI memo that was obtained by Axios saying that Epstein killed himself, that you guys should stop making conspiracy theories because Kash Patel and Dan Bongino would never lie to you. Even though previously they said, yeah, it's probably, there's a cover-up. Now they're saying they're...
I don't mean anything by this. All I'm saying is both of those individuals are not passing the physiognomy check. Something's off. I just don't trust it. I don't know.
Definitely is no cover-up. And in fact, the FBI director, Kash Patel, went on Joe Rogan to tell everybody, you guys are crazy, and we're going to release the inside the jail cell footage proving it.
And you're going to get the video of the cell, and you're going to see for yourself. And we will never be able to convince everyone.
So apparently, we're going to get footage of the cell, which is why when the DOJ dropped a 10-hour video during the time of Epstein's death, people understandably thought this was footage of his cell.
So there's some information that we should clear up here. Some people talk about Epstein having a cellmate. At the time of death, he didn't. Let me break it down for you. When Epstein was first thrown in prison, he was placed in a cell with Nicholas Tartaglione, who was an ex-NYPD officer who is currently serving 4 life sentences for quadruple homicide. You guys want to see a picture of this guy? Mr. Tartaglione? He is a Marvel supervillain, mutant, steroid, bodybuilder, freak. Okay? This is who they placed Jeffrey fucking Epstein in a cell with. Now, there was a situation where Epstein had marks all over his neck. Epstein said that it was a prank, and people hypothesized that Tartaglione strangled him. Now, Epstein is on the record for saying that he was scared of this man. Then Epstein is placed on self-deletion watch. He's taken out of the cell with Tartaglione. He's placed with a narcotics trafficker guy. A bit less violent. Nothing happens in there. That guy is then removed after a couple days, and Epstein is placed alone in the cell, which is in the footage that we're about to watch. And one day after that guy was removed, the second guy, the narcotics trafficker, Epstein self-deleted. Now, personally, I think he did self-delete. I just don't buy the fact that the security guards didn't check on him or fell asleep or the cameras were not on. There was a lot of discourse about what actually happened, and none of it adds up. Picture this. You have the most prolific turbo-gooner, high-profile prisoner on the planet, and all the stars align for the most ludicrous event to take place before any justice is served, any accountability is taken, and then we're left with just conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory and half-baked answers. That's why it's so frustrating.
Here's what this looks like. It's CCTV footage, but this is not actually Epstein's cell, nor is this door. This...
Below these bars right here is the common area, and the way that these cells are set up is that there's like a two-tier system. There's like an upper and a lower. Epstein's in the back over here by my cursor. You can't even see the cell. Why there wasn't a GoPro strapped to his forehead and it wasn't live streamed for the entire world to see, I don't know.
This is footage of a common area. Epstein's door is way back over here in the corner. You can't see it from this footage angle, but you'd understandably not know that because of the way Kash Patel made it sound. He made it sound like we're definitely dropping the real video. You're going to get outside a periscope view of Epstein's cell.
There's just no way that you could have run an op and had people go into that cell and not have any video of it and not have any people come out and say, hey, yeah, I saw that guy. He shouldn't have been there, the guard or this guy. There's just no access points into places like this in the detention center he was in. If they had gotten...
I think this boils down to a couple things. One, it is true that this place is probably understaffed, underpaid, and has little resources to throw around. And what you get with that is a lot of bullshittery. Lazy people who are not locked in.
Into the cell, you would see it.
But we were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that.
But that was in the news.
Yeah, it was in the news. It's also in the OIG's actual report. Like, the government report admits that most of the cameras were not recording. Now, I'm going to show you which cameras were and were not reporting. I'm going to show you the exact angles of these cameras. But I want to draw your attention to one of the weirdest things in all of this footage, which is just the fact that there's a minute of it missing.
They bribed the steroid freak with the steroids to do it. Now, see, he wasn't in the cell when that happened. He was already removed.
You're going to want to look at this time, and you'll see in about 3 seconds it will jump, and the framing will change. So there you can see there was a cut or some kind of edited footage. And it obviously begs the question, why is there a minute missing from...
So, it is odd that there is 1 minute missing. However, it actually does make sense that the cameras reset at midnight. Of all the times for the camera to reset, it would probably reset at this time. I'm not running defense for it. I'd like to know where that other minute is. And I don't know if you can even pull this off in 60 seconds, but stranger things have happened.
From the FBI's, like, prove it tape. But also, what does this tape even prove? As I said, this is not Epstein's cell, nor is this his cell. We're going to show you what that actually looks like. Here's the framing we see, and now we're going to compare that to the official report, June 2023, of Epstein's cell. They lay out a structure of the jail cell and the jail itself, and here you can see it's a two-leveled system. There's a lower tier, there's an upper tier, and Epstein was in the L tier. Okay.
Why are prison cameras not 4K HDR? It's a great question, which boils back to my original statement. I don't understand why I'm getting bled dry with taxes and it's not going to Dolby Digital surround sound prison equipment. There's no excuses for it. This shit is a Razer Motorola potato camera. It's 2025. My fucking bird feeder can identify birds, and I can see them in all their glory with no digital noise, no latency, no lag. My Ring doorbell camera is more clear than this fucking shit.
Okay, here is where the camera actually was that we're seeing. We're going to go ahead and go through this so you can see that's what it looks like. There's upper floor.
They use bandwidth and storage as an excuse. That's not my problem. We're dealing with federal prisons, okay? Housing the most violent criminals walking the earth. I don't understand why you don't have a panopticon, okay? This is actually what should have been the prison for these Arkham Asylum villains, all right? Jeffrey Epstein should have been watched like this. The guards should have been rotated, and they don't even know when they're being rotated, because this will actually drive them mad. Can't see the watcher, and you know you're being watched, all alone within a crowd of people. It's the most based prison system we have, but we refuse to do it because of human rights. You know, that's great and all, but I don't really think those people were thinking about human rights, committing quadruple murders and gooning on an island.
Lower floor, Epstein was located on the upper floor in what's called the L tier, okay, which is right here. You can see it even better from here. Here's Epstein's cell, here's the hallway, and right here is the camera, which was not recording, unlike what Kash Patel sort of insinuates that they're going to release that footage. They don't have that footage. According to them, the recording wasn't working. It was streaming, but not recording. The footage apparently had the DVR system stopped working about 10 days.
Logistically, basic security measures would dictate each block having proper CCTV coverage fully
Before all of this happened. This is in their own report. That's not me saying that. Around July 29th, I believe, it stopped recording as it was supposed to. Now, here's where you can see what actually was recording the day of. So you can see this is the camera that we have access to, and it's looking this way. So that camera footage we see is not of Epstein's cell at all. You can't see it. Instead, this is the guard station over here, and the staircase is like this little, like 3 pixels right there. So it's an actual joke if you think that this footage somehow had a perfect line of sight of Epstein's jail cell and you couldn't have run an op right, even during the missing 1 minute window because, oh, we had a perfect line of sight on his door. They don't. They don't, and the cameras were not recording.
I just don't think they're doing anything in 1 minute flat.
As testified here, like, and it's crazy, the FBI director is spreading misinformation going, oh, I don't know who told you that. You guys told us that. These cameras right here are streaming, but not recording. You can see it right there. There's Epstein's cell. That's the camera that would.
I mean, maybe. Do you guys buy the 1 minute op?
Been on him. It's not
Who was a cellmate? He didn't have one.
there, and yet he goes in front of millions of people and tells people otherwise. It's so irresponsible.
The cell, and if they had gotten into the cell, you would see it.
But we were told that the cameras were down.
Well, I don't know who said that.
But that was in the news.
Yeah, again, it wasn't just in the news.
It's 1 minute from one perspective. That's true too, because we only have one camera.
It was in the government's.
Let's see. Do CCTV cameras reset at midnight? Huh.
Port. Okay, so that's that. So now we're gonna see the camera that we're actually getting footage of, right?
What I mean by resetting is overwriting past footage. But that wouldn't even make any sense. All this shit should be stored.
So this is a video. You can see that's cell 46. Here's the camera that was recording, and you can see it highlighted here. You'll also be able to see that the staircase is partially obstructed because of this wall right here. okay? So these tiny 3 pixels are seeing the edge of the staircase. Here's where they even highlight it for you. Again, this is not my diagram. This is the government's own diagram. This is the stairway to Epstein's cell. Here's the officer station, as we stated. And here's the non-recording camera. Again, this is the government. And
Why is that not recording? Why is that just conveniently not recording, dude? It's staring down the fucking hallway of Epstein's cell.
looking at Epstein's cell. According to them, there had been catastrophic disk failures and no recordings would have been available after July 29th.
Catastrophic disk failures. It's just the bandwidth, bro.
2019, and of course all of this happened on August 9th to the 10th, 2019. Now, an important thing...
Okay, so 10 days earlier, the cameras just shit the bed.
...is this mystery man that comes up in the footage. Because previously, I was kind of thinking this footage kind of didn't show anything. It definitely doesn't show that nobody was there, because you can't really see it. The important cameras are missing. And there are ways to get in or through the staircase without people seeing you, which we'll kind of go over here. I think the idea that this was a perfect view of the staircase is just completely wrong, obviously. But there was also a whole narrative by the government that everybody was in their jail cell by 8 p.m.
High-profile guy like him should have had a custom-made plastic cell like they had for Magneto. That's what I'm saying. He should have been in the middle of Times Square in a plexiglass fishbowl.
This is according to the staff. They say at approximately 8 p.m., August 9th, all inmates were locked in their cells for the evening, and there was no indication that any other inmate could have gotten out of their cells. Epstein didn't have...
My USB cables are actually more reliable than this shit.
...have an inmate, so hence the idea is there's no way anyone could have gotten in there because there was... everyone...
Well, he's not in general population.
...was locked up, right? Of course, we know now that some of the guards allegedly were either asleep or they deny that and they say they may have...
We did look this up in our video covering Jeffrey Epstein the first time. I'll get the info for you right now again. The guards on duty the night Jeffrey Epstein died in his cell were Tova Noel and Michael Thomas. Jeffrey Epstein guards charged with falsifying records. They were supposed to check on Epstein every 30 minutes on the night of his death. They had been taken off S-Watch after a previously suspected attempt to take his own life. He was alone in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York. Repeatedly failed to conduct mandated checks on inmates and lied on official forms to hide their dereliction. Both guards appeared in court on Tuesday and pled not guilty. Bail was set at $100K each, working overtime shifts on the night of his death. Like, what the fuck? Generational fumble. Is that not the craziest shit you've ever heard?
...have dozed off. Either way, what is for sure is that they didn't perform their checkups on the inmates. In fact, they falsified records to this, and they say no CO had checked on Epstein from approximately 10:40 p.m. on August 9th until 6:30 a.m. when Epstein was found. But this 10:40 p.m. is going to become extremely important because it turns out there was someone, what looks to be an inmate, out of his cell at 10:40 p.m. And the question...
Inmate out of his cell.
Question is, who is that person? You can see this at 10:38 p.m. Remember, everyone's supposed to have been in their jail cell for 2.5 hours at this point. No prisoners. You can see a guard goes over to somewhere out of sight. We can't see it. None of the cameras were recording except for this one. And then moments later, we see a little bit of orange near the staircase. Now I'm going to have to zoom into this. It's extremely hard to see. But you can see a little pixel of orange makes its way up the staircase, right? And then we're going to see the guard.
I like to think it's incompetence, but also it's easy to pay someone not to do something or neglect something. Right, so if we were to follow this logic of these guards being allegedly, hypothetically paid off to just, like, I don't know, say some agency or shadow org comes up to these two guards and is like, what you're going to do is fall asleep, falsify records, and you'll be paid $10 million. Sure, you'll get a 100K bail, but guess what? You will be set for the rest of your life. Sound good? Okay.
Returned to his chair, ostensibly locking someone up maybe at that time. But who? Who is that person, right? Because previously we were told that everyone was in their jail cell at...
Phil, look up what happened to Ghislaine Maxwell's dad. Oh, I'm well aware of it. We covered that in our video. He fell off the Lady Ghislaine off the coast of Spain while taking a piss at 4 a.m. and then drowned.
8 p.m., 2.5 hours later, the guards take someone up, or it looks like that. You know, it's hard to see, but there's some sort of orange something going up the staircase to Epstein's cell block. But then if we cross-reference that with this recent memo, we can surmise who that was. It says the FBI's independent review of this footage confirmed from the time Epstein was locked in his cell around 10:40 p.m. on August 9th until 6:30 a.m. Nobody entered any of the tiers.
So that was Epstein. Perhaps.
Of the shoe. So we're supposed to believe that Epstein now is that guy, the mystery man, who's outside of his cell 2.5 hours after lockdown. It's just sort of tossed in this memo here without any explanation, but it's never mentioned in the OIG's original report in 2023. In fact, the only thing that is mentioned is that Epstein was allowed an unmonitored phone call, which was against the rules, but he was allowed it anyways.
What the fuck, dude? Huh? One last unmonitored phone call? Yeah, no shot, bro. There's no way. Purportedly to speak with his mother. In actuality, he speaks with someone whom he allegedly has a personal relationship.
And he returned to his cell after the call, which was at 7 p.m. So again, we were led to believe he was in his jail cell at 8 p.m. by the official report. And then now the FBI's kind of come out and in one line said something quite remarkable, which is that several hours later, Epstein's returning to his cell, or somebody is. All we know, at least from this footage,
So at 10:40 p.m., Epstein apparently goes back to his cell. Nobody checks on him until 6:30 in the morning, and that's when he was found dead.
You can actually surmise from this is that somebody walked up those stairs at 10:40 p.m. with the guard, because the guard leaves his desk, some orange jumpsuit goes up there, and then the guard comes back to his desk. Now, I want to be clear, the OIG report mentions 10:40 p.m. several times as basically the last time that a CO checked on Epstein. That's how it originally was framed. In fact, instead, they basically say that Noel, one of the guards, was actually carrying linen or inmate clothing up to the L tier, which was the last time any CO approached the only entrance to the shoe tier in which Epstein was housed.
So that would be Tova Noel.
So their theory at the time, I guess the theory was they were carrying up, they say inmate clothing. Basically the idea is they're carrying up an orange jumpsuit. And that's why you see orange there at 10:40 p.m. That's the official story in 2023, was that they were carrying Epstein, somebody's clothing up. Now we are finding out that that wasn't carrying clothing up. That was actually Epstein himself, for some reason, was locked in his cell at
None of this makes any fucking sense.
10:40 p.m., way after lockdown, and we don't know why or how any of this happened. And then we know from the same report that the guards made false statements and falsified records saying that they had made mandatory rounds and inmate counts when in fact they had not. So does any of this mean for sure that the
They can't even keep the story straight. It's cooked. I know, that's what's so frustrating about this.
conspiracy theorists are right? No. It just means that this footage that they released and they hyped up and they said on the biggest podcast platform in the world was going to prove everything, proves nothing, and actually raises more questions because it
Yeah, it just makes everything look worse.
contradicts the official narrative that has been said, which is that everyone was in lockdown when they should have been and no one could have possibly entered the cell block. But actually someone did. Now they're saying that's Epstein in a memo after hours for some mysterious reason the night of his death. Why? No answers. But don't look into it. You're a conspiracy. You're crazy guy. By the way, got a shout out.
I'm definitely on a list.
Last chance to get the merch. We've only got a few days left on it. If you want Crime is Legal merch, I think it's a fitting video to put this in. Go to coffeezilla.store, coffeezilla.store. Okay, bye.
I swear the brakes on my car work. I love my life. I'm a really good swimmer, and I have a strict diet, and I never deviate from it.